Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Thomas Molyneux. I am a certified life coach from England, and I'm really excited to share with you 3 top reasons why you should not edge. Now, this honestly destroyed my mental health, to be honest. This was like the worst thing I ever did when it came to quitting porn. Like, forget about NoFap streaks, semen retention, anything else when it comes to quitting porn. This edging, I can't even describe how much it messed me up mentally. And I'm really passionate about helping people overcome this problem. I don't want anyone to ever feel the way I once felt. I had such extreme all or nothing thinking, and ultimately my whole reward circuitry was just a mess. Like, I did not feel any real desire or excitement around connecting with other people, or work, or working out, or any of my habits. I didn't want to do anything really after an edging session. All I'd want to do is be on my own and let my brain naturally recover, and that would take quite a few days. So yeah, I really don't want anyone to ever go through what I experienced when it came to edging. So what is edging? Basically, it's pleasuring yourself, looking at sexual content, masturbating, and not doing that for an orgasm necessarily, or just doing that for really prolonged periods of time. Often I would do this and look at progressively novel sexual content, and that is something I'll also be talking about in this video. So there's 3 reasons why we want to avoid this, and it all starts off with understanding dopamine a little bit better. So there was a guy called Wolfram Schultz who created this really interesting study. He had 2 boxes and 2 lights, and he implanted tiny electrodes into the brains of monkeys. He put the monkeys into this apparatus where there were the 2 boxes, the 2 lights, and what would happen is one of the lights would light up, and that would release food from one of the boxes. And then when the other light lit up, that would release food from the other box. So at first, the monkeys would have releases of dopamine when they saw the food and when they were eating that. But then over time, what happened is that the monkeys figured out that when a certain light lit up, that would mean that food would be released from one of the boxes. And so because they understood the relationship between the light and them having food, what happened over time is that the time in which the dopamine was released actually changed. So the dopamine would be released not when they saw the food, but instead when they saw the light light up, because they knew then that would mean they would have food. And so dopamine really is about the anticipation, the possibility of a reward, rather than the consumption of something or about the actual reward itself. So when it comes to edging, what's going on is the dopamine is actually being released in huge quantities when we're edging, and it doesn't really matter whether you have that orgasm ejaculation or not, because the dopamine is being released in anticipation of that either way. Your brain knows that looking at sexual content and masturbating is going to lead to an orgasm, because that's what's happened so often in the past. And so you're just flooding your brain with dopamine, and that dopamine activity has a huge impact on us, and there's sort of a number of reasons why. The first thing is that you're actually going to feel pretty terrible after you eventually do have the orgasm. After the dopamine high stops, you're going to feel terrible because your dopamine activity has been so high that everything else suddenly becomes really grey and ordinary. Everything else just feels a bit boring. You're not going to be as excited for real life, for connection, and other things that release dopamine. So that's what would happen to me in the past. I just feel really awful after an edging session, and that was because my reward circuitry had just been totally messed up by releasing too much dopamine for too long a period of time. The second thing is you're actually really strengthening the neural pathways which relate sexual pleasure and a screen, and so you're making it way harder for you to overcome this problem in the future. You're making it so that certain triggers are going to be a lot stronger in the future. You're going to crave more sexual content because your brain has now associated reward and dopamine with artificial sexual stimulation. And so you're just making everything way, way harder for yourself further down the line. The third thing I would say, and this one probably affected me more than anything else, is that what happens when you edge is that eventually the things that you're watching no longer become quite as exciting. You can't get the dopamine high which perhaps you were getting when you first looked at that content, and so you move on to progressively novel content. Dopamine is largely about novelty, and so you end up looking at more sort of strange content, stuff that doesn't really align with who you are, your personal values, and like who you want to be. So that can be really, really, really difficult, because then afterwards you're going to feel a lot of shame, quite likely anyway. You're maybe not going to feel too good about yourself, and that really sort of damaged my confidence and was really, really difficult for me. So I don't want you to experience that as well. So how do we overcome this problem of edging? Well, I would say one of the most important things is to actually be kind to yourself. Now, I know this isn't really talked about much in this self-development world, but self-compassion is absolutely massive. It's changed my life, and hopefully it can change yours as well. What happened to me in the past is that I'd kind of think, well, it's all over now. I've already looked at a little bit of sexual content, so I may as well continue. Or I'd kind of trick myself into believing I'm not going to have an orgasm, I'm not going to have the ejaculation, so it's okay to look at this sexual content. But if I had have just been a lot kinder to myself after those first minutes or first few seconds really of looking at sexual content and just gone, okay, right, I did something there which I wish I hadn't have done, but you know what, that's okay. And I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to maybe go for a walk, or I'm going to meditate for 10 minutes. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to call a friend or meet up with somebody. If I had have just done that instead of getting into this all or nothing extreme mindset where it's like, right, it's all over, the NoFap streak's ruined, I may as well look at more sexual content. You know, if I had have just chosen that first option where I just go and do something healthy and just have a little bit more self-compassion and kindness and be like, okay, you know, I made a mistake. I don't want to do that again. That's okay though. That doesn't define me. I'm not going to be overwhelmed by shame and self-hatred and this inner critic. I'm just going to move on. You know, that would have been so much better for me and my mental health, because it really was probably the NoFap streak that would lead to these edging sessions for me, because I would think, well, I may as well continue looking at sexual content because my streak's over anyway. And I kind of prioritize that streak over my own mental health, and that's what got me into a really bad place. So yeah, just forget about any streaks or anything like that. I don't even keep a streak anymore at all, and I've never felt more free in my life since I stopped keeping a streak, because now I'm just a guy who, you know, focuses on other things. Like I meditate every day, I journal a lot, I read a lot, I go to the gym, I see a lot of friends quite often, and I play football. You know, I spend time with family. Those are the things which I want to do. I want to create these videos and share my story, because I know in the past I used to struggle with this problem, but I'm not that guy anymore. I feel like I've just changed who I am. And where am I going with this? I guess what I want to say is self-compassion and mindfulness and taking a kinder approach and letting go of the streak is what has got me to this place where I don't identify with the issue any longer. And that's what I want for you and anybody watching this, because I know how troublesome this can be. And so yeah, I think just be kind to yourself. Let go of all the storylines, the thoughts, the feelings of failure perhaps, the shame. And if you do have those feelings, then just accept it. Accept that's going to be here for a little while. I don't need to buy into those storylines, those thoughts. They're just temporary thoughts. They're temporary sensations. And then yeah, move on. Move your attention towards something else. And that's okay. Don't beat yourself up if you look at a little bit of sexual content, because that can lead to edging. That's what would happen to me in the past, and this is the worst thing you can do for your brain. So I believe it is probably as simple as that. Maybe try some meditation as well, and yeah, don't resist the sensations that you feel, because after looking at a little bit of sexual content, you are going to experience urges. That's totally normal, that's totally natural. And all you can do really is accept them, and that will rewire your brain and help you an enormous amount. Imagine your life if you never had to have this problem and you could just focus on your goals and the life you actually wanted instead. It would be amazing, and that's what I want for you and everybody watching this. So if you do want more information on how you can cultivate a more mindful, compassionate approach on your journey of quitting porn, sign up to the newsletter, which is in the link to this video. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.